So, I'm going to take my mask off. Welcome to the People's Meeple here in Huddersfield. You'll be pleased to know that we are sitting on a table that is 2 metres long. So we are more than 2 metres away from each other. And this is as close as I like to get to Rick, who is the owner, manager, bon vivant of the People's Meeple.
Creator.
He's invited guy. He's invited me here today to talk about games, board games specifically, that fit in with our festival theme of it's the end of the world as we know it, climate change and apocalyptic fiction. As you can see, there are loads of games here at the People's Meeple, but Rick's picked out a few from the collection which he thought would be interesting to talk about and that you might want to consider coming here to play during the festival or to purchase for yourself to play at home to respond to that theme. So thank you very much for having us, Rick.
My pleasure.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you picked these games, and then maybe we'll talk a bit about some of them in a bit more depth and how they play.
So as Dave said, I have about 400 games at the cafe, and I'd like about 400 more. But the games that I've picked to tie into the theme are to do with climate change, end of the world scenarios, apocalyptic themes, which may seem a bit weird because some of them are about little penguins and some of them are about trees. But the main reason I picked these ones are the ones that I know quite well, so I know how to talk about them. But also you could go endlessly about the games that we've got. But what I like about these board games in general is virtually all of them, bar maybe two, are easy to learn but hard to master. So what you don't want from a board game is to spend £30-40 on something, play it once for 2-3 hours and go, oh, that was easy. I figured that out. So these ones, again, easy to learn but hard to master, and they've got lots of replayability, which ties in. And also, because I run a board game cafe, I like to think that the whole higher culture that I think we should have is better than an owning culture, again, to save the planet. And if you're going to play something once every couple of months, then you don't really need to own it.
So I think there's some themes here in what you've chosen. Mm-hmm. We've got some games which are kind of nature and the biospheres, I suppose.
Yeah.
There are games which are zombies, which is its own kind of subgenre, and then there's kind of cooperative games which is about investigation and adventure and coordination. I think all of those to varying degrees fit with our general festival theme, with the authors that we've got talking, but also perhaps with our experiences in 2020 of the planet that we're living on. So why don't we start talking about the nature games, which I think are Hey, That's My Fish, Photosynthesis, Samurai Gardener, and maybe Terraforming Mars, but we'll see.
I would say a little bit the Forbiddens as well.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's common between these games and what's different, and what do you think it taps into in us that we enjoy them so much?
So I think what's common in these games is like you say, is nature. There's a theme that everyone can understand, everyone can touch base with. Everyone knows trees, everyone knows deserts, everyone knows penguins. So it's an easy latch on. It's not... Science fiction can sometimes alienate people because they're not big science fiction fans. And sometimes those themes may seem a bit too complicated. But if you say to someone it's a game about growing trees, then anyone can get on board with that. It's a game about penguins. All right, anyone can get on board with that. So nature ones are a lot more of a easy in to gaming culture. If people go experience the board games is Cluedo and Monopoly, say. This is more of a, well, you've played Monopoly, well, try this.
I think there's something there for me as well about the beauty of nature. And we've been thinking quite a bit at the festival about positive futures for the planet and what a planet might look like that we've saved from the climate emergency. So, and I think games like Photosynthesis tap into that sense of, well, actually, what does the planet need to look like to be healthy? And that's going to involve greenery and trees, and it's going to involve wildlife. So any games that inspire people to keep those things safe has got to be a positive as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the bits of rewilding, there's lots of rewilding that needs to happen. So the building gardens, growing trees, helping animals feed. It's all everything that we need to put back that we've taken away, basically.
So let's move on from that to talk about Nature Gone Wild and zombies in particular. Now, this is a massive trend in board games, as it is across all media.
Yeah.
Zombies have been popular for a very long time.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be going away. So you've picked out 3 zombie games here that all hit different kind of levels.
Yeah, definitely.
So would you want to talk a little bit about what you've picked and why you've picked them?
So like you say, the zombie genre is forever long through the films. It's got a lot of heat and more popular over the last 10 years, and that's reflected in the popularity of those games. So we've got Zombie Dice, which is a very quick, family-friendly game where you are the zombies. That's the difference between the other games. Is you're the zombies and you're trying to survive as a zombie. And that's can played by everybody in the family, from probably a 5-6-year-old could pick it up to your grandparents. Zombies is more of your classic survival zombie, trying to escape and trying to survive. It's very thematic, it's very structured, you can see where you're going, you build a map as you go. And Hit the Road, again, is another survival one, but that's more artistic interpretation because it's just cards. And it's just cards and you're going from point A to point B. And there's a lot more of imagination because you're building the story yourself, whereas that is you're literally in a town and you're moving your little man around the town.
I think that the thing that's really nice about Zombie Dice is that you're the zombies rather than the humans.
Yeah.
And I think particularly for this year, when lots of people have suddenly got a virus that is not a zombie virus, but it's one that people are concerned about. I'm not going to say that rolling dice can help you empathise with people who've got COVID-19, but it is a nice twist on the genre, I think.
Yeah,
you're seeing it from a different side.
Yeah, it's generally everything zombie and infected is bad, but you're just trying to get by.
And I noticed what isn't on the table is a kind of classic zombie game, The Dead of Winter. And I think that's probably quite nice for this year because normally I'd always recommend it. It's a great game. It's kind of competitive but cooperative.
Yeah.
So you're kind of surviving in a post-apocalyptic world with zombie threats, but you're also somebody's trying to undermine everybody else.
Yeah, there's a traitor mechanism.
And I think this year that wouldn't feel quite right. Because what we should be doing is trying to help each other out and get through. So I think games that tap into that a little bit more is probably quite nice.
Yes,
so well done.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on to the kind of cooperative, navigating the world kind of games. They're not the same, and I'm grouping them in a slightly arbitrary fashion, but which ones do you want to start with? Maybe the Forbidden series.
So the Forbidden series are cooperative games where you are trying to escape a set location, whether it be an island, whether it be a desert. There's more games in the series, but these are the 2 that we've got at the cafe. So Forbidden Island, you're a group of explorers that are stranded on an island that's slowly sinking, and you've got to find the bits of treasures and things that you need before you physically have to get off the island. And it's very much a race against time. So you've got to work together. If you don't work together, then you don't get off the island. And same with the desert. You're trying to escape a forever shifting environment. So the winds blow and they bury things that were previously shown. Your paths might be blocked or cleared, and you're trying to not die from heat exhaustion and thirst. So that's where that plays different to the island one, but you are all working together to try and escape.
So maybe the link here, so we're going to talk about Pandemic in a second, is that these are games that could be seen as warnings from the future.
Yes,
if we're
definitely
helping to create a world where it's pretty inhospitable, and the only way you can get through it and get away is by a rapid race against time to escape, we need to be thinking really deeply about what we're doing and make some changes.
Yeah.
Let's move on and talk about Pandemic, because that operates in a similar psychic space, but maybe different thematically. So why don't you say a little bit about what Pandemic is and why this is the year of Pandemic, the board game.
So Pandemic is again, it's another cooperative game where you're working to try and stop several infectious diseases from becoming pandemics and from taking over the planet to a point where they're incurable. And there you're working as the army, as doctors, as research scientists, as biologists, and you're all working together, travelling all over the world to hotspots to try and stop hotspots growing, stop them getting to a point that they may then expand into other countries and go further on. So that's how it's very relevant to today, because again, that's what exactly every country does. They try to control their hotspots. That's what we're doing now with our different tier systems, is getting the hotspots down. So that's the game in itself. It is cooperative. It's not real to life, but it's a nice one to do when you want to work together and you've got that race against that. You can see it's a bit of foretelling as well, because you can go, we need to get to China because it's about to explode with infection rates really high, but then so's Boston, so I'll go there, you go there, and we'll build a research station here. So it's very hectic.
I've spotted that Pandemic went right back up the rankings on some of those like board game sales things. Because obviously everybody was like, oh, maybe this is a game to play this year. It's called Pandemic, but also you've got a bit of a chance to feel like you've got some agency in saving the world. And most of us at the moment can't do that. We're stuck at home, or we are trying to be really careful and maybe feeling a bit powerless. So if you want to try and channel some of those frustrations, I think the Pandemic series is a pretty good option.
And also because it's cooperative, if you're stuck in a house with family members, you want to be working together. So as much as I love a good cooperative board game, and I like a good board game where I'm playing against other people, if you want some unity, then cooperative games are the game. Because if you lose, you all lose. If you win, you all win.
There's also about 1 million variants of Pandemic.
Yes.
And that's for a reason. It's because it's a great mechanic. And a great series. So there will be a flavour for you regardless, including the legacy ones, where if you want to feel what it's like to be in a government and have a pandemic and make mistakes and have to adapt and change and live with the consequences, there are some really good options there for some quality board game experiences. Okay, so that leaves us with the outlier, I think. This leaves us with Terraforming Mars.
So Terraforming Mars is the science fiction end. All the others you can kind of see in day-to-day life, apart from zombies, obviously. It's possible realistic futures. So that's something that could happen in the next 100 years or so, is terraforming another planet because we've done so much damage to this one. Or the population's just too big, or its resources. So in Terraforming Mars, you are rival corporations who've got a common goal, but you want to make the most money, as all corporations do. So you are trying to terraform the planet so you can move there, but you're trying to get the most from it as you do it.
It's a strange mix for me of that kind of bleakness of your corporations all out to undercut everybody else and do what you want, but also cooperating to transform something into something else. It's a really interesting experience, Terraforming Mars, for me, because you can really get into that story of it, and there's so many expansions, you can kind of build it into this experience. So if you want to kind of tell this story about terraforming, going to another planet, and there's so many stories about people having to flee this world because we've damaged it. If you want to have a go at feeling what that's like and what some of those challenges might be, this is a really good game to give that a go.
It is, yeah.
It's quite unique in that way.
It is. It's quite, but it is also, it just doesn't, with all there's so many expansions, but with the expansions, and even just with the base game, it goes into the politics of it. It goes into what the minings do, what your effect on the planet that you're terraforming is, converting energy, melting ice caps. There's lots of things in there so it's balancing what you need to do to make the planet hospitable against what you need to do to try and make the most money, and you've got to make certain sacrifices as we do, but ultimately you're trying to get the planet habitable.
And as you mentioned at the beginning, I think board games are a really interesting hobby, considering the kind of mass consumerism of society that we're in right now and the impact that has on the planet in the future. And there's two really nice things, I think, and the reason why it's great to work together. One of those is that a lot of board games are in the kind of Cosmia space. There's lots of science fiction, lots of fantasy, so it's all in our wheelhouse, which is excellent. But also they are investment pieces. we are very much of the view at Cosmia that you should buy things that are something you're going to keep, something that you're going to use a lot, and potentially pass on when you've finished using it. And I think board games really fit into that category. Some of them are terrible for the amounts of plastic they've got in them.
Some of them are. Yes.
But there's also lots of cardboard. There's a little bit of tin. And they are pretty durable, apart from sometimes the packaging side of things, which we don't love.
No.
But a solution to that is to come and play them in a cafe like this.
It is. One of the reasons I set up the cafe is, one, mainly my love of board games and wanting to show everyone, go, hey, look how good these are. Put your phone down, come and play a game. But it is to say that there's the hiring and sharing future that we need, because there is overconsumption. And for something that you're not going to use all day, every day, or every other day. So a board game you may play once every couple of months, or if you've got a really nice board game, you might play it once a month. And that's not something that you'd really need to own. It's like where I think cars will go in the future. Not everybody will own a car because people will be working from home more and they don't need to drive around as much. So there'll be more just picking up a car as you need it, so it's not sat in your driveway for 80% of the time. Same with board games. Rather than having 20 copies of, say, Terraforming Mars in the HD area, there might only be 4, and you come here and you pay a small fee, and rather than pay the big price tag to play it, you can play that and you can play some others because you're hiring it and you're not actually using it.
So if you're bored, if you're stuck inside, if you can get to a board game cafe during the festival period, then go play some games in your households and tweet us, Instagram us, Facebook us, tell us about it. We want to know what your experiences are, particularly if you're playing games that are about the end of this world or another one. Tell us what it feels like, share your experiences. We'd love to hear from you. And make sure to check out the events we're doing with People's Meeple during the festival. Fingers crossed, at time of recording, we're going to be doing an event in People's Meeple, the only in-person event that we can do this year. But we'll also have some stuff online with them as well, both this year and in the future. So make sure you check out our website for all the details. Thanks for having us here, Rick. We're going to pack all these games away and not even play them today because it's home time.
It is home time.
And we'll see you again soon.
Yep, see you soon.